Okay, good morning students. So it is still morning while I am recording this, but this will be posted in the afternoon. So good afternoon to you if you're watching this during the afternoon. Okay, so this is the recording for the last part of our midterm, which is the first part of your chapter 5, which is amino acids, polypeptides, and proteins. Okay, so hanggang dito lang yung coverage ng ating exam. Okay, so hanggang before formation of polypeptides. So the topics that I will discuss today or for this OBS is the topics before your formation of polypeptides. So hanggang doon lang yung ating examination. So um, this will be the last discussion video for midterm. So we have amino acids, polypeptides, and proteins. Chapter 5. Okay, let's start. So every living cell has a protein. Okay, so the name is taken from the Greek word proteos, meaning holding first place. Okay, so first place because your proteins are found in all living cells. Okay, so your carbohydrates. Okay, so by the way, these are again biomolecules, diba? So we have major types of biomolecules. So the one that is holding the first place among all biomolecules is your proteins, because your proteins have a lot of varieties of functions. Napakaraming functions ng inyong proteins. The proteins may not be the first in terms of energy source, no? So our main energy source or main biomolecule energy source is actually the what? The carbohydrates. Correct? Tama ba? But your proteins, even though hindi siya yung number one sa energy source, it is actually its function is a conglomeration. No? Napakarami niyang functions within the body. So, iti-take up natin yan, examples ng functions ng proteins later. Okay, but pagdating sa functions or sa importance, so in the whole body and sa lahat ng cells, ang always mong nakikita is proteins. Okay. Lipids naman, okay, lipids ninyo, another source of energy, correct, tama din, di ba? Okay, so, kung sa carbohydrates, ang main, nasa carbohydrates ang main source of energy, okay, ang lipids, ang function niya, para saan? Source of energy din siya, storage of energy of the body. Okay, so sa kanya nanggagaling yung storage ng energy. Okay, so on the other hand, proteins, okay, let's take up the function of proteins. So proteins are the most versatile macromolecules in living systems and serve crucial functions in essentially all biological processes. So sabi ko nga, versatile, when you say versatile, this is able to adapt to different or to many functions. Okay? So, your proteins are able to adapt sa iba't ibang klase ng functions in the body. Okay? So, marami siyang work or job when it comes to biological processes. So, your proteins are called macromolecules, okay? Because yung proteins natin are very large molecules, okay? Malalaki sila compared to your carbohydrates and lipids. So, it is a huge or very large molecule commonly composed of polymerization of monomers. So, ano yung monomers ng ating proteins? You have amino acids. Okay? So, ano siya? Composed of many units of amino acids. So, more than, kung ang carbohydrates ninyo and ang lipids ninyo is considered malalaki na, no? Because they also have polymerization. Pero the proteins talaga, because it's composed of many or thousands of polymerization of monomers, what you call amino acid. Okay, so they function as catalyst. So ito yung una nilang function as a catalyst. So when you say catalyst, these are substances that speed up a chemical reaction. Okay, so catalyst may be involved dyan ang enzymes. Okay, and the next second function ng inyong proteins, you have transport and store other molecules such as oxygen. So remember, doon sa ating cell membrane, 'di ba? So you can find proteins on the surface and inside the cell membrane. So their main function is what? To transport certain nutrients and oxygen. Okay? So yan yung another function ng inyong proteins. It transports different nutrients such or other molecules such as oxygen to the whole body. Next, it provides mechanical support and immune protection. Okay, so third function ng inyong proteins is for mechanical support. Okay, so ginagamit siya as a structure of many support systems or support structures sa ating body. It is also an immune protection. Okay, so your proteins does not only function as catalyst, as a transporter, as a mechanical support. It is also the one that um, counteracts, no? It counteracts the action of antigens. Okay, so when you say antigen, these are foreign molecules or foreign microorganisms from the outside or from the external environment towards or pumapasok sa internal environment ng body. So the one that counteracts the effects or the actions of your antigens is, or the one responsible for counteracting the effects of antigens in the body is your proteins. Okay, so yan yung immune function niya or immune protection. Next, it generates movement. Okay, so some neurotransmitters are made up of proteins. Kaya it generates movement. Okay, so ano ba yung nagsisend ng impulse or the one that carries impulses? It is your neurotransmitters. And one component of your neurotransmitters are proteins. Next, it transmit nerve impulses. So ito na yun, same. Okay, so when you generate movement, you will need the transmission of nerve impulses. And lastly, you have control growth and differentiation. Okay, so for every different type of species, animal, man, or plant, they have specific or they contain specific sequences of your proteins. Okay, so the proteins found or the sequence of proteins found in your body are actually the one that is controlling your growth. Okay, so yung sequence ng proteins na napoproduce ng inyong katawan, that is the one that is creating the format, okay, for your growth. Okay, so and differentiation, pagkakaiba-iba sa structure and appearances and also sa DNA na bawat individual. Okay, so some of the examples of proteins are spider web. So ito siya, nagbibigay siya ng examples dito ng different materials or things that are formed from proteins. So first is your spider web or the web o yung sapot ng gagamba, which is many times stronger than the toughest steel. Okay, so hindi ito siya, the molecular level ito, no? Okay, so unang tingin mo, syempre, mas tough talaga yung steel, no, kaysa sa spider web. Pero kung i-compare mo, no, if you, for example, you will make the spider web very large, okay, so mas tough yun siya. Okay, so stronger than toughest steel. Okay, kaya maliliit kasi yung mga gagamba. So maliliit lang rin yung napoproduce nila na spider web. Pero if malalaki, just imagine if the spider webs are large enough, just like your steel, different types of steel, mas malakas yung spider web, okay, because it is composed of proteins, okay. So the greater the sequence of proteins, the stronger the material that it will produce, okay. So here another example is your hair, feathers, and hooves, okay. So hooves, matigas, 'di ba? Okay, so yung hair ninyo, it is not kapag healthy yung tao, it is not brittle. And also feathers used as protection by um, animals such as birds. So they are made from related group of proteins. Okay, so another example. Next, you have glass clear lens found in the eyes of the vision. Okay, so your lens or the lens found in the eye is also composed of your proteins. Dwarfism happens when growth hormone proteins is lacking. Okay, so some of your hormones are also composed of proteins. So itong dwarfism na take up nyo na ito, I'm sure sa inyong anatomy and physiology. Okay. Juvenile onset diabetes mellitus results from lack of insulin protein. Antarctic fishes survive at very low, okay, or very low temperature ito, class. So lagyan nyo na lang sa notes ninyo. Yan, so yung inyong course pack kasi itong binigay sa amin, class, hindi pa ito siya edited or hindi pa na proofread. So meron pa siyang mga error. Ganyan. Kaya nga hanggang ngayon wala pa kayong course pack ng biochem, no? Kasi medyo nung summer lang siya ginawa. So hanggang ngayon siguro ine-edit pa rin 'yon. So soft copy lang yung binigay sa amin, and the soft copy is still not perfectly corrected or hindi pa siya na-edit. Okay, so Antarctic fishes survive at very low temperature below freezing because of the anti-freeze blood protein. So, 'di ba? You will wonder, napakalamig sa Antarctica pero buhay yung certain fishes that are living in that area. That's because yung fishes na nakikita sa Antarctic Ocean are actually containing anti-freeze blood proteins that helps them survive the freezing temperature in Antarctica. Okay, a person's metabolic processes are out of control when small amount of proteins is missing in the blood. So, yan din yung another example. Okay, so a great variety of proteins are made from the same relatively small group of amino acids. Okay, so we have actually at least 20 amino acids that are found in most or general living organism. So 20 yung pinaka common. Okay, so mamaya makikita niyo yung listahan niya. So maliit lang yung group, 'di ba? Pero it can produce many sequences of protein. So when I say sequences, pagkakasunod-sunod ng amino acids. So sabi natin proteins are polymerization or a polymer of amino acids. Okay? So sunod-sunod na magkakadikit na amino acids. So pwedeng magkakaroon siya ng different sequence, okay, for a certain type of product, okay, or a certain type of protein. So each type of protein has a different sequence. Okay, so kaya nga sinabi niya great variety of proteins nanggaling sa relatively small group of amino acids. Magkakaiba-iba lang ng sequence. Okay, so nature creates biochemical compounds with various amino acids in different sequence which are essential to many functions to sustain life. Yan siya. So very important yung sequence or yung different sequences of amino acids in making proteins. Kasi bawat ibang klaseng sequence ng amino acids will produce different functions of your proteins. So protein is important in our nourishment and one of the three major classes of food. So, carbohydrates and fats are source of energy. However, proteins are used for growth and maintenance of body tissues. Okay, so pwede siyang source or ang main function ng inyong carbohydrates and fats for energy, pero yung proteins ninyo are responsible for the growth or development of an individual and the maintenance of body tissue. So, your proteins help maintain the health of your body tissues and the repair of your body tissues. Okay, so food with high protein content over 10%. So mataas na yan 10% component of your protein. You have the meat, the beans, the nuts, the fish, cheese, egg, and poultry. We have to focus on understanding on what proteins do and how they are formed and perform these functions. Okay, so yan. So, kailangan nyo munang malaman, class, you have to understand what composes your proteins, what is the function of proteins, and so on. So, let's start with the first topic. You have structure and function of protein, or the structure-function connections of proteins. So, there are two classes of proteins based on its composition. Okay, so you have simple proteins and conjugated proteins. So, yung simple proteins niyo, these are proteins that only yields amino acids when hydrolyzed. So, ano nga yung hydrolyzation? The use of a water molecule to separate, okay, or to break linkages. Okay, so, when your proteins undergo hydrolyzation, the polymers will break down, or your polymer will be broken down into single units of amino acids, or the monomers you have amino acids. So, ang simple proteins natin, kapag nag-undergo ng hydrolyzation, it will only yield amino acids. Okay? So, meaning, ang simple proteins, compose siya ng amino acids at wala ng iba. Okay? So, wala na siyang ibang other composition except your amino acids. You have your simple proteins. Next, you have conjugated proteins. So, these proteins yield amino acids and one or more additional products when they undergo hydrolysis. So, ang conjugated proteins, from the word conjugate itself, meaning it is containing other functional groups, other functional groups maliban or together with your amino acids. Okay? So, hindi siya composed ng polymers ng amino acids. Meron pang nakadikit na other groups or nakabond na other functional groups sa inyong amino acids, which composes your conjugate proteins. So, there are 200 different amino acids in nature, wherein some of these are found only in one species of animal or plant, and others in only a few life forms. So, in all, yung the recorded number of your amino acids found in nature is 200. Okay? Pero, yung 200 na yan kasi are found, okay? So, hindi lahat nakikita in all organisms. Okay, karamihan sa kanila are found in rare species of animal and plants. And yung sa iba naman, few life forms lang present yung amino acids, no? Okay, so 20 doon sa 200 na yan are found in almost all proteins and are used in all forms of life in protein synthesis. Okay? So, yung general or yung pinaka-common na amino acids found in all proteins, okay, that are used in all life forms are these asa na yun? Okay, ito sila. The 20 amino acids. Okay, so ito sila yung nakikita mo in all forms of life form or in all life forms. Okay, proteins found in all life forms. Okay, so all proteins are made up of carbon. Okay, so ito yung nakikita ninyo sa structure, or these are the atoms and elements found in the structure of your, or forming the structure of your proteins. You have the carbon, the hydrogen, the oxygen, and the nitrogen. Okay, so apat. CHON. Tandaan nyo yan. CHON. Although some have other elements such as your sulfur, your phosphorus, your iron, copper, or zinc. So, yung iba, usually the proteins that contain your sulfur, phosphorus, iron, copper, and zinc, these are conjugated proteins. So, unlike carbohydrates and lipids, protein has nitrogen with an average of about 16% nitrogen content. So, kung yung sa inyong, for example, lipids, diba, meron siyang amine group, okay? Meron doong nitrogen, but very small percentage lang. While on your proteins, napakalaki ng percentage ng nitrogen content niya, 16%, okay? Almost all, no, amino acids, or yes, amino acids contain nitrogen in their structure. Okay, so proteins are highly specific in their function. Okay, so parang enzymes ang inyong proteins, okay? So meron silang specific function, okay, for every sequence ng protein, or every sequence produces a specific function. Okay, so a given protein molecule has amino acid units arranged in a definite sequence. Okay, so every protein molecule, meron siyang sequence, definite sequence ng inyong amino acid. So a biological function of that protein is seriously damaged or destroyed when one of the hundreds or thousands of amino acid units is missing or out of place. Okay, so sabi ko nga, very important yung sequence ng amino acids that composes your proteins. Kasi kapag isa dyan ang nawawala or mali ang place sa sequence, ang pagkalagay sa sequence niya, no, baka nauna or kahit single amino acid lang na nawala sa lugar niya sa sequence ng inyong proteins, it will cause what? A disruption in the function of that protein. Yung biological function niya is nawawala. Okay? So, parang ano lang siya, parang sequence din sa computer, 'di ba? Okay, yung different numbers, nakita niyo yung coding. So, yan. Kapag may isang number dyan, imaginein mo number sila. Kapag may isang number, or let's say, yung phone number ninyo, 'di ba? So, meron kang specific phone or cellphone number. Okay, composed of 11 numbers. So, kapag may isang number na namali doon, 'di ba? So, hindi mo na ma-receive yung inyong what? Yung inyong load or ano ba, yung pagko-call, 'di ba? Pag may namaling isang number lang, malaki na ang damage. Okay? So, ganyan din sa ating or ganyan din sa protein, sa composition or sa sequence of amino acids of your proteins. Okay, so kapag may isang naalis or may isang out of place, its function will be disrupted or destroyed. Okay, so the relationship between structure and function of proteins differentiate it from other classes of biochemicals. So you have your carbohydrates have a reduced carbon. So this is carbon, not carton. Okay, so carbohydrates have a reduced carbon which is readily oxidized to give cellular energy. So ano yun siya? Yung inyong glucose or C6H12O6. However, it does not depend directly on the sequence of arrangement of carbon atoms. In contrast, an appropriate sequence of amino acids produces a protein strong enough to form a horse's hoof. Okay, so yung carbon ninyo, or the the structure of your carbohydrates are not very particular with the arrangement, no, or the sequence of arrangement of carbon atoms. Pero kapag ginawa mo yan kapag dito na tayo sa amino acids of your proteins, it must follow a very specific sequence, okay, to produce a certain type of function of protein. So, a different sequence produces a protein capable of absorbing oxygen in the lungs and releasing it to needy cells, okay? Pwede ring another sequence of your amino acids produces a hormone capable of directing carbohydrate metabolism for an entire organism. And, okay, so, iba-ibang sequence ng amino acids will produce a protein with a different function. And yung functions nila are very different in range or malaki yung range. Kasi, pwedeng sa structure, pwedeng sa function ng isang organ, di ba? Or pwedeng sa function ng isang system, malaki yung importance ng certain type ng protein na mapoproduce in a certain sequence. So, complete understanding of the function of proteins requires knowledge of its structure. So, let's go to the structure of amino acids or the nature of amino acids. So, there are two functional groups present in each of amino acid. Namely, you have number 1, you have the amino group. So, ang formula ng inyong amino group is NH2. Tandaan yan because that is constant. It will only differentiate. Magiging NH3 lang yan siya pagdating ninyo sa zwitterions. Okay? But the amino group, general form niya is NH2. And then you also have the carboxyl group or COOH. Okay? So, tandaan, ang structure ng amino acids contain two groups. Amino group, NH2, and carboxyl group, COOH. So, hindi na yan bago sa inyo kasi na-encounter nyo na yan sa carbohydrates and lipids. Okay, so the proteins, amino acids are called alpha amino acids because the amino group is attached to the first carbon or alpha carbon atom adjacent to your carboxyl group. So, ito siya. Okay, so alpha siya because the NH2 or the amino group is found doon sa carbon katabi ng inyong carboxyl group. Okay? So, yung unang carbon na katabi ng carboxyl group is called an alpha carbon atom on the side or beside your COOH group. So, yung naunang carbon, you call that as alpha carbon. So, since doon nakalagay or nakakonect yung inyong amino group, okay? So, your amino acid is now an alpha amino acid. Okay? So, alpha amino acids always tayo class. And then, yung kasunod sa kanya, the second carbon following your alpha carbon atom is called a beta position or a beta carbon atom. Okay? And then next, yung third carbon is called gamma. So, this is the gamma position or the gamma carbon atom. And so on as seen in the following structure. So, ito yung main structure ng inyong amino acids. Okay? So, you have the carboxyl group, you have the amino group, and then you have the alpha carbon atom and the other side chain. So, itong left side. So, ito yung R. Okay? Pagdating hindi. So, dito, makikita nyo yan. So, the general formula for amino acid is represented as your carboxyl group, your amino group, your alpha carbon atom, sa taas niya always ang H, and then you have the R or the variable group. So, ito yan siya. Kung dito, sa example na ito, in alpha amino butyric acid, this is the R or the variable group. Or, pwede kasi ito siya class, pwede siyang iba-ibang types ng functional groups, okay? Pwede siyang alkyl, pwede siyang aromatic group, okay? So, ito siya nag-iiba. Depending sa different types ng amino acids. So, makikita nyo doon sa 20 na amino acids, may iba-iba silang type ng variable group. Okay? So, you call this variable group kasi variety siya, no, ng functional groups. Pwede siyang different types of functional groups. But this structure, you have the carboxyl, the amino, and your alpha carbon atom, constant yan sila class. Nagkakaroon lang ng pagkakaiba-iba sa R ninyo or sa variable group. Okay? So, unlike your lipids, your proteins or your amino acids have a general formula. 'Di ba? Ang lipids natin wala silang general formula kasi iba-iba ang structure ng each type of different lipids. Pero ang inyong amino acid follows a general formula, which is this. So remember this because this is very important. Okay, so the designated R is the amino acid side chain. Okay, you call your variable group, this one, your R, as a amino acid side chain. Okay, so it may contain, ito na yung mga different functional groups na pwede nyo makita. You have alkyl groups, which are either open chain, cyclic, or aromatic hydrocarbon groups. So isa-isahin natin sila ha. When you say kasi class, alkyl groups, ito na yung chain of carbon atoms. Maalala nyo pa, okay? So these are molecules that contain only carbon and hydrogen atoms, okay? So it arranged in a chain, okay? So ang alkyl groups ninyo, these are a functional group containing only carbon and hydrogen atoms, or a chain of carbon and hydrogen atoms. So, pwedeng open chain. Alam nyo naman ang open chain, di ba? Alam nyo na, this is an example of an open chain. Okay? So, dire-diretso lang. Cyclic, ano yung example ng cyclic natin? You have the furanose, and pyranose. Cyclic, it forms a pentagon shape for furan and a hexagon shape for pyran. So, naalala nyo pa class? Yan yung cyclic. Okay? And then, pwede namang aromatic hydrocarbon. So, ano yung aromatic hydrocarbons? These are the hexagon-shaped cyclic chain. Okay? Yung inyong pyranose. But the difference is, yung aromatic hydrocarbon ninyo contains 3 double bonds inside. So, imagine, one example ng inyong aromatic hydrocarbons is the structure of benzene. Okay, yung structure ng benzene ninyo, drawing ko na lang para maalala nyo ha. Structure ng benzene, paano nga? You have a hexagon containing 3 double bonds inside. So, ito yung benzene. Kita nyo ba ito? Okay, itong example niya, hindi nyo makita. Wait lang. Ayan. Yan, kita nyo class? Yan siya. Yan ang structure ng benzene, and your benzene is an example of an aromatic hydrocarbon group. Okay? So, ang pinagkaiba niya sa cyclic, ang cyclic, pwedeng hexagon, no? That does not contain double bond inside. Okay, your aromatic hydrocarbon group is a hexagon shape with 3 double bonds inside. Sample niyan is your benzene C6H6. Okay, so another kind of functional group. So first functional group na pwedeng maging R or variable group is your alkyl groups. Okay. So, 3 types yun. Open chain, cyclic, and aromatic. The second type of functional group may be the additional amino or carboxyl group. So, diba may isa kang amino group, may isa ka ring carboxyl group. Now, kapag nadagdagan yan ng another amino group or either carboxyl group, okay, so yan yung second type ng R. Pwedeng dito sa R mo, sa variable group, another amino group or another carboxyl group. Okay? And then lastly, you have hydroxyl groups. Ano ang hydroxyl groups? Containing OH. Okay? So, yung functional group containing OH. And then, pwede ring sulfur containing groups or your element sulfur. Okay? So, amino acids are classified. Okay, amino acids are classified into 3 such as neutral, acidic, and basic. So, ang neutral natin, okay, when they have the same number of amino acid and amino and carboxyl groups. Okay? So, kapag equal yung number ng carboxyl group and amino group found in the structure of your amino acid, then it is called a neutral amino acid. So, anong example? What's the example of the neutral amino acids? You have your valine, your leucine, your proline, and all other amino acids that do not belong to acidic or basic groups. So, kung dito tayo titingin, this is a neutral. Okay, neutral amino acid. Why? Because it contains 1:1 ratio of your carboxyl and NH2 or amino group. So, when you say 1:1 ratio, isa lang ang carboxyl group, isa lang din ang amino group. So, kapag 1:1 ang ratio niya, class, remember that is a neutral amino acid. Now, kapag hindi 1:1, for example, acidic, these acidic amino acids contain more carboxyl groups than amino groups. So, mas marami silang carboxyl group or COOH sa structure kaysa sa NH2. Okay? So, you call that as acidic. Okay? Acidic amino acid. So, ang examples nila is your aspartic acid and glutamic acid. Next, you have the basic. Kabaliktaran ng acidic kapag mas maraming amino groups. Okay? They contain more amino groups than carboxyl group. So, you call that as basic. Mas maraming NH2 kaysa sa COH sa structure ng amino acid. You call that as basic amino acid. Examples niya is, the examples are lysine, arginine, and histidine. Okay, so amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. However, selected amino acids also have their own physiological importance. So, hindi lang, okay, your amino acids are not just for building blocks of proteins, okay? Sabi natin monomers ang amino acids. Hindi lang yun ang function nila because they also, okay, every single amino acid have a specific or own physiological importance, okay? May sarili-sarili din silang function bawat iisang amino acid. So, many neurotransmitters are amino acids or their derivatives. Sabi ko kanina, di ba? Your neurotransmitters are amino acids. So, example natin, you have the chemical messenger between the nerve cells. In some organisms are glycine and glutamic acid. Okay? So, yung neurotransmitters between your nerve cells, these are actually glycine and glutamic acid. Okay? Tyrosine, another type or another kind of your amino acid, can be converted to a very important neurotransmitter called dopamine. Okay, so yung tyrosine ninyo, pwede siyang ma-convert into dopamine, which results to Parkinson's disease if deficient of this derivative. So, kapag kulang yung derivative mo na dopamine, when you say derivative, nanggaling, no? Or it is derived from your tyrosine. Okay? Ang origin ng dopamine is your tyrosine. So, kapag kulang yung release or yung presence ng inyong dopamine, nagkakaroon ka ng Parkinson's disease. So, yung Parkinson's disease, class, this is characterized by shaking, no, of the parts of the body, and you have a difficulty in maintaining balance or movement, and also sometimes kapag grabe na, you have difficulty in talking. Okay, so I know naman that you are familiar na with Parkinson's disease. Always ito na nakikita sa TV, no? Okay, so the shaking of the body parts, difficulty in maintaining balance, okay, posture, or movement, nahihirapang gumalaw ng mabuti. And sometimes, the speech of the person is also affected. Okay, so there is difficulty in speech or in talking. Okay, so this can be relieved by another compound, L-DOPA, which form also from tyrosine. Okay, so yung in prevention for your Parkinson's disease is the formation of your L-DOPA also coming from tyrosine. which is a type of amino acid. So your tyrosine is also the parent compound for the flight or fight hormone, epinephrine or your adrenaline. And thyroxine, a metabolic hormone. Okay, so, di ba, dito nyo na-figure out that your amino acid also has um, another duty, okay, besides being a monomer of your protein. So, para silang merong main job and my part-time job. Okay? So, main job nila is becoming building blocks for proteins, and then part-time job nila or side job nila is eto, samples nito like your tyrosine becoming a source of your or becoming an origin of your dopamine hormone and your adrenaline hormone and thyroxine hormone. So, yun na, two functions na yun. Pwedeng amino acids, pwede silang maging neurotransmitter, and pwede rin silang maging hormones. Okay? So, another important amino acid is histidine. So, ito siya, itong histidine ninyo class para sa allergic reactions ito. Okay? Your histidine is the one or is responsible for producing symptoms of allergic reaction. Okay? Which is, okay, your histidine is converted in the body to histamine, which causes stomach lining to secrete hydrochloric acid. However, kapag nag-secrete siya when it causes the secretion of hydrochloric acid, it may cause many symptoms associated with tissue inflammation and cold. So, ito na siya class. Okay? Yung presence ng histamine sa body will regulate or responsible for the symptoms of allergic reaction such as inflammation and cold. So, yung colds, diba kapag nagkakaroon ka ng allergic reaction, sometimes nagkakaroon ka ng sipon. Okay? So, yan siya. It is caused by your amino acid, histidine. That is why meron tayong antihistamines na iniinom, diba? When you are preventing a certain type of allergic reaction. So, popular sila and important over-the-counter medicines. Okay. So, ito siya itong write the structure for the simplest amino acid and beta amino acid. So, ginawa nyo na yan or gagawin nyo pa lang ngayon sa inyong activity. Alright. Activity pala kayo. Let me check. Okay, so tapos nyo na pala yung activity number 4. Okay, so tama ba yung sagot nyo dyan? You will see later because the correct answers for that will be posted. So, recording na ba ito? Okay. So, protein is broken down to its constituent amino acids during digestion, which supply much of the blood or much of the body's need for amino acids. Okay? So, pwede ring proteins will be broken down para ma-provide ng or the proteins found in the food you eat will be digested, no, para so that the different amino acids in that protein or in that food will be absorbed by the body. So, 10 of the 20 amino acids are essential amino acids. So, doon sa 20 na sinabi ko kanina, 10 doon are essential amino acids. When you say essential amino acids, it provides nutrients for the normal functioning of your body. Okay? So, nagpro-provide siya ng it provides for the proper functioning of the human body. Okay, so the body cannot synthesize them and they must be supplied in our diets to enjoy normal health. Okay, so when you say 10 essential amino acids, yung 10 doon sa 20 amino acids that are essential in the functioning of the body are not produced by your own system. So, hindi siya nagagawa ng body mo. Kailangan mo pa siyang i-include sa inyong diet. Okay? So, kailangan mo pa siyang makuha from certain types of food. Okay? For maintenance of normal health. So, some animals require other amino acids in addition to the 10 essential amino acids. ang humans, 10 lang talaga ang kailangan niya class ha. Yung 10 essential amino acids para yun sa human body. Pero when you're talking of different species such as animals and plants, so hindi lang 10 yung kailangan ng ibang types ng species, okay? Pwedeng more than 10. So the 10 essential amino acids are phenylalanine, valine, threonine, methionine, arginine, tryptophan, histidine, isoleucine, leucine, and lysine. Okay, so proteins are classified based on nutritional basis such as complete protein and incomplete protein. So, ang proteins natin, they are also classified depending sa nutrition na nabibigay nila sa body, okay? So, nutritional basis, pwede siyang complete protein when it contains all the essential amino acids. Yung 10 essential amino acid is in that protein, you call that as complete protein. On the other hand, kapag it lacks one or more of the essential amino acid, you call it as an incomplete protein. So many proteins from vegetable sources are incomplete, such as your corn or maize. So it lacks lysine. Okay, so yung mga vegetable natin, kulang sila ng protein. So yung example niya dito, corn, ang kulang ng corn is the amino acid lysine. So this vegetable protein can be improved by adding essential amino acids which are lacking if this can be synthesized at reasonable cost. So pwede mo siyang i-enhance no sa laboratory. Okay? So yung mga certain food that lack, such as your vegetables that lack certain types of essential amino acids, you can actually enhance them no sa laboratory at a reasonable cost. Okay? So kapag mura naman, mas kapag expensive hindi na yan ginagawa. Okay? Pero yung one example natin ng reasonable ang cost is the corn or maize. Okay? So human foods and livestock feed are enriched to have high quality protein by adding lysine, methionine, and tryptophan. Okay? So you can enhance different types of foods or livestock. When you say livestock, ito yung mga sa farm, okay? Animal farms. They can be enriched to, no, by adding lysine, methionine, and tryptophan amino acids. Okay, so these are the 20 amino acids found in all forms, okay, of life. You have, okay, so class, yung mga may asterisk dito, yan sila yung essential amino acids, your 10 essential amino acids, yung mga may asterisk. Okay, so you have the alanine. So, ito yung mga abbreviation ng each name ng inyong amino acids, okay? So, kapag nagsusulat kayo ng, when you write the sequence class, kasi ipapagawa yan sa inyo, you will write the sequence of a certain protein, itong abbreviation lang ang isusulat ninyo, okay? So, ALA, ARG, ito, tatlo lang, okay? Kasi kapag nagsulat ka ng sequence na full name nila, okay? So, napakahaba, no? So, ang ginagamit natin for answering is only the abbreviation. So, you should memorize or familiarize the abbreviation of each of the 20 amino acids and also the formula. Familiarize what composes the structure or the structural formula of each of the amino acid. Okay. So, let's try to know. Okay. Your number 1, alanine. What is this? This is a neutral amino acid because it contains 1 NH2 amino group and 1 carboxyl group. So, 1:1 ang ratio niya. So, neutral ang alanine. On the other hand, your arginine, so, mas maraming nakita nyo, mas marami siyang NH2 or amino group kaysa sa COH. So, ang ratio niya is 4:1. Okay? 4:1 kasi may 4 ang nitrogen. Or may dalawa siyang amino group and then isa lang ang carboxyl group. So, this is a basic. Okay? This is a basic amino acid. So, ganun class ha, tingnan nyo. Bilangin nyo yung amino groups and carboxyl group. Asparagine you also have. So this is also a basic because you have 2 amino groups and 1 carboxyl group. Aspartic acid, okay, so this is malaman mo class kung isa siyang acidic kasi meron siyang acid sa dulo ng name niya. Okay, so mas marami siyang carboxyl group compared to amino group. So ganyan yung examples natin. You can try that with the other. Okay, ito na yung class, 'di ba? May benzene structure. So yan yung example ng aromatic hydrocarbon. Ito pa, yan. So, genetic engineering, idugtong natin sa pinaka may genetic. Genetic engineering have made significant improvements in plant protein quality by developing maize variety with, ang maize variety natin class is our corn, okay? With greatly improved lysine content and many other ways to improve the protein content of the foods. So, dinagdagan ng lysine yung component ng inyong maize or corn to improve its nutritional value. Okay, let's continue. Okay, yan. So, let's go to D amino acids and L amino acids. So, para din ito siya class yung sa stereoisomers ninyo, remember? Diba? Sa carbohydrates, merong D, meron ding L family. Okay, so all amino acids have at least one asymmetric carbon atom. Ano nga ang one asymmetric carbon atom? Carbon atom containing 4 different types of functional groups, or a carbon atom bonded to 4 different functional groups. Okay? So, may 4 na functional groups na magkakaiba-ibang nakadikit sa carbon atom. Yan yung asymmetric carbon atom. For example, alanine has 1 chiral carbon atom, which means it has 2 isomers or 2 stereoisomers or mirror images of each other. So, ang structure ng alanine ninyo is this. Nasaan ang chiral carbon niya? Nasa gitna, this one. So, your chiral carbon atom is also the alpha carbon atom, 'di ba? Remember, katabi siya ng COOH. So, when you say D-alanine, this is the alanine isomer or the isomer that contains the amino group on the right side of the structure. Okay? So, remember, when you write the structure of an amino acid, always write the COOH at the top. Okay? So, sa exam ninyo, ganito ang sundin natin na structure. Okay? So, kapag nagsulat ka ng structure ng isang amino acid, always write, always nasa vertical, okay, yung position ng inyong carboxyl group and the variable group. Sa taas ang carboxyl group, sa baba ang variable group. And then, on the horizontal part naman, always write the hydrogen, always write the hydrogen and your amino group on the horizontal, okay, part. So, isusulat mo sa right side yung inyong amino group if it is a D isomer. Okay? And you will write the amino group on the left side if it is an L isomer. So, D-alanine because the amino group is on the right side. L-alanine because the amino group is on the left side. Okay? Remember that. So, ito yung sundin natin. Kasi baka mamaya sa exam, i-rumble nyo naman yung position ng variable group, ng carboxyl group, ng amino group, and the hydrogen. Okay? So, yan yung tandaan ninyo. Dito, you have the negative and the positive sign. Okay? So, itong negative and positive sign, this is indicating the direction of what? The rotation of the plane polarized light. Okay? So, kapag negative, meaning your D-alanine isomer is rotating the plane polarized light to the left. And meaning your L-alanine, it has a positive sign, meaning it rotates the plane polarized light to the right. So, ganyan lang ha. Wag nyong ipaghalo yung fuel or yung explanation ng D isomer at ng negative sign. Okay? Yung D and left isomer, ang minimin lang yan, makita mo yung NH2 sa left or sa right. Okay? Yung positive and negative sign, it means or it directs, okay? It gives the direction of the rotation of the plane polarized light. So, dito sa example, you have D negative alanine. Ulitin ko na naman, okay? Meaning, ang D-alanine isomer mo, it rotates the plane polarized light to the left kasi negative ang sign niya. On the other hand, your L-alanine isomer, it rotates the plane polarized light to the right because its sign is positive. So, okay, so unless stereochemical information is given, amino acids are written using condensed structural formula. Okay, alam nyo naman siguro yung condensed structural formula, class. Okay, so ito yung condensed structural formula. Ito yung example niya. I already explained this sa lipids. So, hindi mo naman isusulat ng pagkahaba-haba yung alkyl groups mo. So, you will just use parentheses, no, para i-indicate yung number ng certain group na yun. So, for example, methyl group dito, meaning dalawa yan, dalawang CH3. So, yan yung condensed formula. So, kung condensed formula ang ginagamit sa lipids, ganun din ang ginagamit sa inyong proteins or amino acids. So, let's go to the last part. You have your amphoterism. Okay, so amphoterism. The reactivity of a substance to both acid and base is called amphoterism. Okay, so kapag ang substance mo are reactive to both acid and base, okay, acid and base, reactive yung substance mo sa present na acid solution and sa present na base solution, you call that substance as amphoteric, okay? Amphoterism ang tawag dyan. So, phenomenon na yan. And you call the substance as amphoteric or amphiprotic. Class, this is not amphiproteic. This is amphiprotic. Tanggalin niyo yung letter E. Okay? So, an amino acid that can react with either an acid or a base, you call that as amphoteric or amphiprotic. For example, you have your valine. So, your valine reacts as an acid with the presence of a strong base. Okay, so baliktad yung function nila ha, kapag ang present is strong base, kapag nilagay mo siya sa strong base, okay, ang iyong amino acid will or the amino acid will act as an acid to the strong base. So, for example, valine, okay, amino acid valine, you will add it with a strong base NaOH or sodium hydroxide. So, it will act as an acid. Ano ba ang function ng isang acid? Okay, the function of your acid is it gives or it provides what? It provides hydrogen ions. So, mangyayari, there will be formation of water molecule and a sodium valate. Okay, so may certain name, remember, iba-iba ang name na ma-perform whether you add a strong base or you add a strong acid. Okay, so if you add a strong base, always may sodium and then ATE ang last ng name niya. Okay, so bakit siya nag-provide ng hydrogen atom or hydrogen ion? So, yung hydrogen ion dito nanggaling sa carboxyl group mo will what? Will bond with the OH group found in your sodium hydroxide, forming water. Okay? And then, yung Na part ng inyong sodium hydroxide will what? Will bond with the negatively signed oxygen doon sa natirang carboxyl or part ng carboxyl group. Okay, so since positive ang Na, ang inyong sodium, positive siya, it will react with the now negative COO group. Kasi nga natanggalan itong oxygen mo ng hydrogen, so nagiging negatively signed siya. So kukunin niya yung positively signed NaOH, and then the hydrogen ion coming from your carboxyl group will now bond with the OH group, forming water. So this is the final product. You have your sodium valate. On the other hand, when you add a strong acid such as HCl, your valine will now act as a base. Okay? So ano ang base? It what? It accepts, okay? It accepts protons, or it accepts positively charged, or yan. So example natin dito, you have HCl. So yung Cl part, okay, the Cl of, or the negative charge of your acid will what? Will connect with the positively charged NH2. So ang mangyayari, you have, and then yung hydrogen part nyo naman will add to the hydrogen part of your amino group. So kapag sa acid class, strong acid, hindi nila gagalawin itong nasa taas. 'Di ba kanina doon sa strong base, ginalaw ang COOH group, ginalaw rin ang, and ginalaw din yung, so nagkapalitan sila, 'di ba, ng inyong Na. So kapag strong base, i-add mo siya dito sa taas na part. Okay? Kapag strong base. And then kapag strong acid naman, you will add it on the lower part dito sa amino group. Okay? Remember, if there's a presence of a strong base, ang magre-react sa inyong, or the part of the amino acid that will react with the strong base is the upper part, which is the carboxyl group. When there is addition of a strong acid, okay, ang part ng amino acid na magre-react with the strong acid is the amino group. Okay? So, example, eto. So, yung H, the hydrogen in your HCl, will add to the NH2, nagiging NH3 plus na siya. And then, the Cl part follows. So, NH3 plus Cl. Okay? So, iba rin ang name niya, class, ha? You have your valine. Coming from valine, nagiging valyl ammonium chloride. Okay? So, kanina sa strong base and sodium hydroxide, so, nagiging sodium valate. Valate coming from valine. So, sundin nyo lang yung format nito, class. Okay? So, amino acids do not actually exist in molecular forms as shown above, even in neutral biological solutions. Okay? So, they mainly exist as dipolar ions called deuterium. So, naalala niyo yung laboratory natin, class? Our laboratory in the first semester, the first trinal, no? Okay? So, maalala niyo yung deuterium. So, nandito na siya. Because this is protein, so, diba sa albumin yun siya. Okay? So, remember Bronsted-Lowry acid and Bronsted-Lowry base. Okay? So, again, using valine as an example, the proton on the carboxyl group transfers to the amino group, forming a deuterium by an acid-base reaction within the molecule. So, ayan. Okay. So, ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng acid-base reaction within the same molecule, doon mismo sa molecule ng inyong valine. Okay? So, here, para makapag-form ka ng isang deuterium, when you say deuterium, these are molecules that contain what? Both negative and positive charges. Okay? Dipole siya. When you say dipole, dalawa ang kanyang charge, a negative charge and a positive charge. So, in order for you to produce a valine deuterium, or a deuterium molecule of your valine, ang gawin mo, there should be an acid-base reaction on the same molecule of valine. So, yung hydrogen part of the carboxyl group of your valine will go to the what? Will go to the amino group of your valine. So, mag-add ka ng hydrogen doon sa inyong amino group. Kaya ang nangyayari, kapag nag-add ka ng isang hydrogen, magiging positively charged siya. Nagiging NH3 positive. And dito sa kinunan mo naman ng hydrogen, nagiging negative. So, now you have two charges. COO negative and NH3 positive. This is the valine deuterium molecule. Now, on the ionic basis, the reaction of valine with presence of strong base and strong acid, your OH negative and H plus. So, ito na siya. So, ang valine deuterium dipole, you have negative charge and positive charge. Kapag nag-add ka ng OH negative group, so, anong nangyayari? It will get the positive charge or the positively charged hydrogen in your NH3. So, now, you will form an anion. Anion, okay? Bakit siya anion? Because, ngayon, since nakuha yung hydrogen dito sa NH3, nawala yung kanyang positive charge. Saan pumunta yung H+? Sa OH negative. Kasi negative will react with positive, okay? So, now, your OH negative will get the hydrogen ion from your NH3 forming water, okay? So, ano ang natira na lang na charge in your valine deuterium? The negative charge found in the carboxyl group. So, COO negative. So, since negative, you call this as an anion. Okay? So, coming from the name itself, valine. So, ang name nitong anion na ito is valate anion. Kuha nyo kanina dito, diba? With the addition of NaOH. So, you formed sodium valate. Okay? Now, sa valine deuterium, ang name niya na is valate anion. Okay? Because same lang. Kung kanina, strong base, ngayon, OH negative. Next, with the addition of your hydrogen ion, okay? Or H+. So, saan siya? Positive man siya. Saan sa tingin nyo siya magre-react sa charges found in your valine deuterium? Siyempre sa negative, okay? Sa COOH, sa COO, negative. Because positive attracts negative, okay? Dapat opposite yung sign niya. So, ang mangyayari, the hydrogen atom will bond with the COO negative. So, now you have a complete COOH. And ang natira na lang na charge is NH3 positive. So, this is what you call a cation because it is positively charge, okay? A positively charged ion. And the name for this is valyl ammonium cation. Coming from the name here, valyl ammonium chloride kanina. Ngayon, valyl ammonium cation. Okay? So, most other amino acids behave like valine. They help to buffer or stabilize the pH of the blood at about 7.35 to 7.45 because they contain the COOH and the NH2 group together with protein molecules. So, they maintain the pH of the blood close to 7.4. Paano? By using the COH and NH2 group. So, because any excess acid or base in the blood is neutralized by the reaction shown above. So, ito class. Your amino acids functions as a buffer system of the blood. Okay? Or it stabilizes the pH of the blood by what? By performing this reaction. Turning your valine deuterium into an anion or turning your valine deuterium into a cation depending if ano yung changes sa pH. Kuha? So, ito yung kanyang... So, kapag mataas masyado yung level ng or masyadong basic, no? Yung inyong blood or the level or the pH level of your blood is more than 7.45, so anong mangyayari? It will what? There will be a reaction of valine deuterium with OH negative found in the blood or OH negative ions found in the blood to form anion and add water. Okay? So, pinapababa niya yung basicity ng inyong blood by reacting with the OH negative or with the OH part of your blood. And then, kapag masyado namang acidic, it takes up the hydrogen ions from the blood, forming a cation. So, by that, it stabilizes, no? It maintains the range of pH within this range. So, when the positive and negative charges of amino acid in solution are equal, it is electrically neutral. Ito yung Formula 1 ninyo. Okay? So, equal yung positive and negative charge. Ano yan siya? Yan yung Zwitterion form. Kasi meron siyang negative and meron siyang positive sign. Okay, so yan, you call your Zwitterion form, the structure number 1 as electrically neutral. Ito yung Formula 1 mo. That is the Zwitterion form. And your Zwitterion form is electrically neutral kasi pantay ang negative and positive charge. So this one does not migrate toward either the positive or negative electrode and placed in an electrolytic cell. So wag kayong malito dito, class, ha? Baka sabihin nyo, ma'am, ano yung electrolytic cell? This is just an example. Your electrolytic cell is what you call the battery. Okay? So yung batteries ninyo contains what? A positive and a negative electrode. Diba? Opposite sides ng battery. Wala akong battery dito. Diba? May negative and positive side yung inyong battery. So yun yung positive and negative electrode. Yung Zwitterion form mo, it will not go to either the negative electrode or the positive electrode because what? It is neutral. May positive and negative charge siya. Now, when you add, for example, when you add OH negative and positive or OH negative and hydrogen ion, okay, or hydroxide ion and hydrogen ion, so magpo-form ka, diba, ng isang cation. You can also form an anion. So the formula number 2 is the cation form. Okay? Your cation form. So, yung cation form mo, since positive ang sign niya, it attracts or it is attracted to the opposite sign, negative. So, meaning, ang cation form will go to the what? Negative electrode of your battery. And on the other hand, yung anion form naman, the formula number 3 it is what? It is negatively charged, meaning it will go to the positive electrode of the battery or electrolytic cell. So the pH at which there is no migration toward either electrode, either sa positive or negative electrode, you call that as isoelectric point. Okay, so hindi nagmamigrate yung inyong cation form and anion form. Okay, so either electrode, you call that as isoelectric point. The equilibrium is shifted toward formula number 2 sa cation if an acid, okay, an acid is added to an amino acid at its isoelectric point. And what? So, ang nangyayari, ito ang isoelectric point natin, di ba? Equilibrium. Okay? So, nag-shift sa formula 2, okay? Nagiging cation kapag nag-add ka ng acid, okay? If acidic, okay? So, nagiging cation siya, and the cation will go to or it will migrate to the negative electrode kasi nga opposite sila ng charges. The equilibrium is directed towards formula number 3 naman if a strong base is added. So, kapag present naman is base from a Zwitterion form, it will what? Form the formula number 3 or the anion. Okay? So, and yung anion mo will go to the positive electrode. So, amino acids and proteins are isolated and purified using the differences in isoelectric points because their rates and directions of migration can be controlled in an electrolytic cell by adjusting the pH. This separation method is called electrophoresis. So, pwede mong mapaghiwalay-hiwalay yung inyong amino acids and proteins by using the method electrophoresis. Kasi bawat amino acid and protein, they have different isoelectric points. Okay? Bawat amino acid may sarili-sariling isoelectric points. So you can separate them or purify them by adjusting the pH. Okay? So ito yung table natin of isoelectric points of selected amino acid. So yan, arginine, you have ang isoelectric point niya is pH level 10.7, lysine 9.47, histidine 7.64, and so on. Okay, so ayan. For basic amino acids, the isoelectric point ranges from pH 7.6 to 10.8. Okay, so for neutral amino acids, ang pH value ranges niya naman from 4.8 to 6.3. And for acidic amino acids, ang kanyang pH varies from 2.6 to 3.3. So yan yung range ng pH for the three types of amino acids. Okay, for the neutral, basic, and acidic. So, pansin nyo, kapag neutral, malapit sa ito, 4.8 to 6.3. Kapag basic, mas mataas, diba? 7.6 to 10.8. Kapag acidic naman, mas mababa sa 7, 2.8 to 3.3. Okay, so in glutamic acid molecule, ano ang glutamic natin? There are 2 carboxyl groups and 1 amino group, meaning it is basic. Okay, classified carboxylic group pala. Carboxylic group, 2 carboxylic group and 1 amino group. So 2 is to 1. Okay, so classified as acidic siya kasi mas maraming COOH with an isoelectric point lower than 7.0. So dapat yung pH ng inyong glutamic acid must be within the range of 2.8 to 3.3. Okay, so alanine molecule has 1. So tama, 3.8. So acidic siya, ang glutamic. Next, you have alanine molecule has 1 amino group and 1 carboxyl group, which belongs to the neutral amino acid. Kasi pantay, ang ratio niya 1 is to 1, which would have a pH of 7.0. However, as shown in table 6, the isoelectric point pH is 6.11. So, dapat daw 7.0 daw siya, diba? Kasi neutral amino acid man siya. Pero hindi, kasi 6.11 ang nakalagay dito sa table and not 7.0. The reason is that when alanine ionized, the amino and carboxyl groups are not equal. Okay, yung ionization, the explanation for this is because the ionization of your amino group and carboxyl group are not equal in rate. Okay, so ang carboxyl group of your alanine ionizes more as an acid than the amino group ionizes as a base. So, mas mataas yung rate of ionization ng carboxyl group, COOH, sa alanine. Okay, it turns into acid compared doon sa ionization ng amino group into base. Kaya ang nangyari, mas mababa siya sa 7 kasi mas mataas yung acidic or acid na na-form, okay, from the carboxyl group compared doon sa amino group ninyo na base ang kinalabasan. So, 6.11 siya instead of 7.0. So, we have an example here. Draw the structure of L-serine. L-serine meaning ang kanyang amino group is found on the left side. In A, deuterium. B, kapag it is in a strongly acid solution, and C, in a strongly basic solution. So, first muna, you will first draw the deuterium formula. Okay, para doon sa inyong L-serine. So, dito ka muna sa formula 1 or formula A. Okay, so in the center, then write the formula in the left by adding hydrogen ion. Okay, so dito muna. The deuterium formula of your L-serine. So, isulat mo yung structure ng L-serine. So, kapag sa ganito class, you will follow the formula na makikita doon sa table. For example, ito ang sundin nyo, ha. Kapag sa ganon, 'Di ba kanina sinabi ko, sundin nyo yung ganitong formula. For single amino acid lang yan. Okay? Ay, hindi yan siya. Asa na yun? Eto, 'di ba? For writing this, you will follow this formula for only writing the D and the L amino acids. Okay? Pero kapag doon na tayo sa zwitterions, anong ifa-follow nyo? Yung ganitong formula. Wala na kayong babaguhin dito. Ito lang. Okay? So, yan lang. Itong ganito, gagamitin nyo yan siya sa D and L amino acids. Ito siya ang ginagamit sa zwitterions. Okay? Writing zwitterion formula. So, dito, so ito yung zwitterion formula na yung L-serine. Meaning, dapat kasi, diba, H dito, tas NH2 ang nasa baba. Now, para mag-form ng L-serine zwitterion, kukunin mo yung H dito. So, magiging negative ang COO, negative, or COOH. Okay, negatively charged. And then, i-add mo yung H dito sa NH2, magiging NH3 plus. So, zwitterion na siya kasi dalawa ang kanyang charges, negative and positive. Now, to form, okay, when you add, ito na ang B. When you add a strong acid, okay, so pag nag-add ka ng strong acid, ano ang ma-form mo? You will form the cation. Why? Because the H or the H or coming from the HCl, diba? Okay, strong acid, pupunta siya sa NH2 na part. So, magiging NH3 plus COOH. And then, or no, pupunta yung H or from the HCl, the hydrogen ion will go to the negative part of your zwitterion kasi positive ion man yung hydrogen ion. So, pupunta siya sa, or it will bind with this negative part of the zwitterion. So, magiging COOH. Okay? Ang natirang charge na lang ng inyong zwitterion now is positive. So, it is considered as cation. Okay? So, you call this as L-serine ammonium cation. On the other hand, when you add a strong base, for letter C, formula letter C, when you add a strong base, okay, so the OH part of your base, or the hydroxide ion, which is negatively charged, will what? Will go to the NH3, or will form, or will react with your NH3 or amino group to form water molecule. So, ang nangyayari, the OH will get the positive or the hydrogen ion of your NH3 to form a water. Ang matitira na lang is NH2. Okay? Nakunan mo siya ng isang hydrogen. So, the charge now of your zwitterion is negative. So, you call that as L-serate anion. So, nakuha niyo yung names, class. You just follow the names given here. So, saan lang sila magkakapalitan? Doon sa name ng inyong amino acid. So, dito, serine, kaya nagiging seril and serate. Okay? So, familiarize nyo lang yung pagkakaiba-iba ng name nila. Pagkakaiba-iba ng name ng zwitterion, ng cation, and ng anion. Okay? So, that's the end of the topics included in the midterm. So, hanggang dito lang tayo, class, sa zwitterions, okay? Sa amphoterism. Hanggang dito lang. This formation of polypeptides will be taken on the finals already. Okay, so, that's the end for the first part of proteins. I hope na naintindihan naman kahit papaano. Okay, so, wala masyado. Hindi mahirap yung proteins actually. Kasi maikli lang siya. Madali siyang intindihin. Mas mahirap yung, I think, yung lipids. Okay? Okay, so that's the end. Thank you for watching this. If ever you've watched this, no, thank you for watching this video recording. And see you on finals. Bye, class. Okay.